So good evening, everyone. I'm going to call
This conference will now be recorded.
I'm going to call the Temple City regular meeting, City Council meeting for May 4th to order. I'll read a couple of preamble here. Pursuant to Section 3 of Executive Order N29-20 issued by Governor Newsom on March 17, cities are allowed to hold City Council meetings via teleconferencing, and members of the public can observe and address the meeting telephonically or electronically. To listen to the meeting either telephonically, please call 1-872-240-3212, access code 574-737-373, or through the city's live webcast on YouTube, Connect with TC. I would like to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Mann?
Here.
Councilmember Vizcarra?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist?
Here.
Mayor Yu?
Here. For those calling in, your audio will be unmuted during public comment and when public comment is open during an agendized item discussion. You can also email your request to speak to cityclerk@templecity.us right now and indicate on the subject line the item you wish to provide comments. At this time, we want to thank Pastor Darrell Kelty for providing the invocation. Pastor Kelty is with Temple City Community of Christ Church, located at 5851 Temple City Boulevard. The church recently moved to the new address in March. Pastor Kelty?
We were having problems with Pastor Kelty's ability to call in, so we're going to try to reach him, if you wouldn't mind.
We'll try to call him?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll wait a little bit. While we're waiting, we'll put the Pledge of Allegiance as ahead of the invocation. So please stand and we can do our Pledge of Allegiance. Well, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
United States of America.
Republic
to the republic
that stands.
for
Nation.
which it stands, one nation, under God,
Under God.
indivisible,
Under God,
with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Please be seated.
I'm sorry, Mayor, we were not able to get a hold of him.
Okay, well, then I'll do a very quick invocation. Let's bow our head and pray. Dear Lord, we come to you tonight and we'll give this city council, put in your great hands. Help us with your wisdom. Help us to make good decisions for the city of Temple City. We pray for all our public safety personnel. Lord, please keep them safe. Thank you for their service, and please bless them, bless their family in this special pandemic time. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, next item is ceremonial matters, and we have a couple presentations. Very special presentation. The first one is Older American Proclamation. So because we're doing it virtually, so allow me to read the proclamation. So This is the Older Americans Month, Community of Strength, May 2021. Whereas the city of Temple City includes a growing number of older Americans who make countless contributions to our community every day. And whereas the city of Temple City is stronger when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are included and encouraged to make their mark. And whereas the city of Temple City recognizes the importance of the physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being of its citizens, and whereas the city of Temple City can support our community members by 1, promoting independence, inclusion, and participation. 2, engaging older adults through education, recreation, and service, and connecting people with opportunities to share the time, experience, and talents. Now, therefore, I, Vincent Yu, Mayor of Temple City, on behalf of the City Council of Temple City, do hereby proclaim May 2021 to be Older Americans Month. I urge every resident to recognize older adults and the people who support them as essential members of our community. Well, my computer's behaving a little funny, so hang on. Okay, well, the city is pleased to announce the 2021 Temple City Older American of the Year recipient, Connie Decken. She has been involved with numerous volunteer organizations such as Boy Scouts, PTA, and the United Methodist Church, to name a few. She is also one of the longest serving members of the Camellia Festival Committee, joining in the early 1980s. Since residing in Temple City in 1965, Connie and her family have been an integral part of the community, and the city is honored to be able to recognize her as a 2021 Temple City Older American of the Year. Connie, welcome to the City Council, and you can see that we have a very nice picture of you on the screen. So Connie, congratulations to be our recipient this year. You want to say a couple words?
Can we unmute her, please?
Connie?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
You have me now?
Yes.
Okay. When I received the phone call yesterday,
Yes, we can now hear you.
you're still not hearing me.
Well, she hears you. You said
I can hear you. Well, Connie, you're on mute. Connie, you're on mute. Can somebody unmute her?
We sent her an unmute request.
Isn't technology a wonderful thing?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. I
Okay,
yeah,
it finally took it when I said to unmute. Okay, I just can't thank those who nominated me enough. I'm really, really honored that the City of Temple City would give me this recognition. As you mentioned earlier, Frank and I moved to Temple City in 1965. Our family has enjoyed all of the opportunities here, the schools, the parks, the churches, and job opportunities. I've especially enjoyed volunteering at the Camellia Festival, which I have done for the last 40 years. I was a banker in Temple City, and way back when the Camellia Festival time came around, they went to the local banks and said, can you send some bank tellers to work in our cash booth, for the Camellia Festival. And I said, oh, sure, that sounds like fun. So I have been doing that now for a long, long time, but I love giving back to the community, as does my whole family. Our children and now our grandchildren have attended and are attending Temple City schools at this time. I love this town, and I love the many friends that I have made while here. And I just want to thank you again, and I will continue to support this city by volunteering as long as I am able. And just thank you for this honor. I am truly thrilled. Thank you.
Well, Connie, we really appreciate your contribution to the community. It's we're happy to recognize you tonight. Thank you so much for your service. Do other council members have any want to say anything to Connie?
Connie, this is Tom. It's good to see you and see that you're doing well. And congratulations on this honor. I miss seeing you in the bank at the Camellia Festival the last couple of years. We'll know when everything's back to normal again, when you're sitting behind that desk collecting all that money. So again, congratulations. They couldn't have put a better person in charge of the bank, and that is a banker. So good for you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Yeah, we're certainly hoping that we can have a normal carnival in 2022. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Well, that's coming up, hopefully, when we all got vaccinated now, I hope. And anyone else?
Well, I'll say something. First of all, I predict that we will have a more normal year next year, and we will have a carnival. And the only time I get to see is when I'm working the carnival, and every time I go into the bank, I wave and you're working away. So I can't tell you how much we appreciate that and your effort. So much of what we do is made up of volunteer workers. I belong to the Kiwanis, and everybody there is a volunteer, and we put our hearts and souls into what we do for the residents here. So I can appreciate what you do, and I know it's a good deal of work, but it's a pleasant work. So thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you again. Oh, I love what I do. Thank you.
Penny, were you going to say something?
Can you hear me? Yes. Connie, I just want to congratulate you. I know your family and friends are extremely proud, as the city council is. I can't think of a nicer person to get this award, and congratulations.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Connie, this is William, man. I just want to say congratulations, and you're an inspiration to all of us, and Temple City is very lucky and blessed to have volunteers like you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. There's many of us. There's many of us that are volunteers,
Right,
and do a lot in this city.
Yeah. So, Connie, thank you again, and congratulations to be our recipient of the Older Americans of the Year in 2021. Thank you for your service, and please take care. And we wish you health and many more years of volunteer service to come.
Thank you again.
Thank you. So, all right, we'll move on to our next ceremonial matter. It is Mental Wellness Proclamation. I will also read the proclamation, so bear with me. The Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2021. Whereas mental health is a part of overall health and helps to sustain an individual thought process, relationships, productivity, and ability to change or face adversity. And whereas mental illness adversely affects those abilities and often is life-threatening in nature, and whereas Early identification and treatment can make a difference in successful management of mental illness and recovery. And whereas it's important to maintain mental health and to recognize the symptoms of mental illness and seek help when it is needed. And whereas every citizen and community can help end the silence and stigma that has surrounded mental illness and discourage people from getting help. Now, therefore, I, Vincent Yu, as mayor and on behalf of the City Council of Temple City, do hereby proclaim May 2021 to be designated as Mental Health Awareness Month to increase public awareness of the importance of mental health and the impact of severe mental illness, to promote greater understanding and hope for those who suffer from these illnesses, and to pay tribute to all who devote their skill and expertise to the cause of better health for our citizens. So at this time, I'd like to call on the Youth Committee to share and report out on the effort in promoting mental health wellness. Who would speak from the Youth Committee? I guess Catherine Chen. You need to unmute your phone or your computer. There you go.
Good evening. First, we'd like to thank the Council for their support of the Youth Committee. The reason the committee has selected mental health for the initiative this year was because we understood how much COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the emotional lives of individuals, and we wanted to help in any way we could. From personal experience as a committee, we know how detrimental stress and isolation is to mental well-being, which is why we felt so motivated to initiate action regarding this vital topic. In order to tackle mental health, we determined that it was necessary to conduct a survey to gauge where we needed to focus on. We sent out 2 surveys. The first survey was sent to the high school and middle school and received around 920 responses. After gaining permission from the district, we sent out a second survey that received 71 responses. Over 50% of respondents were from the elementary schools, which was our target audience for the second survey. Both surveys indicated over 80% of students were not well versed in the mental health resources the city provides, and also did not know where to find these resources if they needed them.
Continuing her statement concerning the mental health survey, the survey helped us to get a better understanding of the students' needs and wants out of our mental health objective. It was so interesting to understand the type of difficulties that every student was struggling with, because it made our initiative more real and relevant to what our purpose as youth committee members was. And because of the insight that we received from the survey, we were able to incorporate the students' wants and incorporate them into our cell lessons, which included art, music, games, and meditation.
For one of our projects to promote positive mental health, the Youth Committee designed graphics to post on the digital billboard on Rosemead Boulevard. The 3 main categories that we focused these graphics on were growth, resilience, and support. We've designed and published 6 billboards since November 2020. Some of the phrases we've developed for these billboards are "We've got you covered," "Bounce back better than ever with TC," and "Let's bloom together, TC."
Beyond our billboard initiative, we also wanted to reach into our community by partnering with the school district with our SEL lessons. Thanks to the insight we received from the survey, we were able to achieve our second focus of the year by improving existing resources. Our high school's counseling department had been putting out social emotional learning lessons every Friday, but students reported feeling disconnected. Using continuously updated survey results, we are able to incorporate student wants into SEL lessons we created in collaboration with our counselors. These lessons so far have included art, music, games, and meditation, designed to help students who felt isolated connect with others socially, since we felt our peers would have more benefit from having social activities and relaxation rather than being required to answer questions about mental health.
We started this project a few months back with the goal in mind to educate the public on what resources they have at their hands in regards to mental health. And the committee has been organizing and preparing for a Facebook Live conversation on mental health with Senator Susan Rubio and Dr. Glenn Masuda during this time. We met with them earlier today from 4 to 5 p.m. and successfully recorded the Facebook Live.
And in addition to that, the committee also met with Edward Barrera from Senator Rubio's office in order to prepare for this live. We had 2 meetings beforehand where we worked out the different questions and possible responses to those questions to ensure that the live went smoothly. And that just about wraps up our initiatives for this year. I just wanted to take this time to thank again the council for giving us this time during your meeting and for giving us a platform to speak about the work that we're so passionate about. Thank you so much.
Well, great work. Thank you, everyone. Actually, do you know the number of people who participate in the Facebook Live today?
We would have to get that number from the senator's office, but we could provide that to council at the city manager's update.
Yeah. At this time, does the council have any questions or comments for our youth committee? I guess Tom? Yeah, go ahead.
Right, Cynthia wants to say something, I think.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to congratulate the youth committee on their workshop with Senator Rubio. It's just such a critical time, and during my own comments, I wanted to acknowledge some of the things that our sheriff's department is doing with mental health. And during this pandemic time, and as we come out of this pandemic, I think there's so many mental health issues facing people of all ages and all socioeconomic areas. So I congratulate you so much on your efforts, and I just think it's wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you. Councilmember Chavez, you can say something?
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Well, of course, it goes without saying how proud I am of our 6 students. I think they know that. This is the very reason why they were chosen to be on this select group, and they've certainly lived up to all expectations, and I'm very proud of the work that they have done. And I know that we're losing actually 4 of our members are graduating and going on to college, and they have built a fantastic foundation over the last few years. And I know that it will help them as they move into the next chapter of their life. And of course, we've got Chase and Lauren coming back, and we look forward to them being taking charge of next year's group as well. So good job, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, good job. Congratulations on your work. Oh, okay, Councilman Min.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Yu. I also want to applaud the youth committee for their efforts in putting this really important topic together. I think especially in, at least speaking from the Chinese American immigrant family perspective, mental health is one of those topics that at least when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of resources available. The topic wasn't widely discussed. I had a lot of friends who went through a lot of struggles themselves, and it's great to see that that topic is being discussed more openly, and that our youth is very aware of that. I think that's a much needed change, and so I always say the generation after us will continue to improve on the things that we weren't able to do before. So I'm really, really proud of you all for tackling this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So at this time, I want to congratulate you guys again. And I often look at our youth committee and think of myself as when once upon a time was your age, but I could only think of playing basketball or something. And it's amazing what the things that you guys have put together. So great work. Congratulations for this great work to the community. And good luck to all of you. Oh,
Tom?
yes. Yeah.
I was just wondering if we're able to access the workshop at a later date.
Yeah, Peggy's going to provide the link to everyone so that you can watch it later on. So hopefully we'll have that to you as soon as possible. Also, I just want to mention, I forgot, of course, I always do. But a big shout out and thank you, of course, to Peggy and Jillian for all of the work that they've done with the youth committee. If it weren't for those two, we would not have a youth committee, I can tell you. And they're like, I'm not going to say like moms, I'm going to say they're big sisters. How's that? That's a better term to use to all of them. And I know they care deeply about the kids, and I want to thank them both for all their work, and they do put a lot of time in, that's for sure. Peggy just put something up, and those are Cindy, since you're a Facebook person, I'm sure you can access it on Facebook at Susan Rubio's website or on her Facebook page, I'm sure. So
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from anyone? So again, the youth committee, thank you so much for all the good work. This time we'll move on to, all right. Next item, public comments on items not listed on the agenda. So the City Council will now hear public comments regarding item not listed. The procedure to address the City Council is highlighted on the first page of the agenda. Calling in, your audio will now be unmuted. Please state your name so that you can be added to the speakers list. Do we have any callers? Please state your name.
Mayor, we don't have any callers.
Yes, there is none. Okay, do we have any emails?
Yes, Mayor, we have one.
To address the City Council.
We have one from Lucy Liu.
Madam, would you please read it, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Good evening, Mayor Yu and fellow City Council members. I'd like to ask you to consider a vote of no confidence in District Attorney George Gascon. As of April 29th, 6 other Los Angeles County cities have already voted no confidence in him. These are Santa Clarita, Beverly Hills, Pico Rivera, Lancaster, Whittier, and La Mirada. As a Temple City resident and active member of Neighborhood Watch, I strongly feel that the policies and non-persecution directives put in place by this district attorney threatens the safety of those who live in Los Angeles County. We have already been suffering the consequences of Assembly Bill 109 and Prop 47 since they became law. With Prop 57 going into effect on May 1st, we're now facing the possible release of tens of thousands of violent criminals from state prison. Having a DA like George Gascon does not provide the line of defense residents need when victimized by these or any other criminals. Temple City has been in the top 50 of state SafeWise list of California's safest city in recent years, even jumping 7 spots and reaching rating number 23 this year. It is up to City Council to continue taking the necessary steps to ensure that we stay safe and high up on the list. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Liu, for your address, for your comment. So I will close public comments at this time, and we'll move on to the next item, consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be approved in a single motion as recommended unless removed for further discussion. Yes.
Mayor, you ought to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Councilmember Vizcarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist? Yes. Mayor Yu?
Yes. So the consent calendar has passed. Next item is public hearing. There is none. Next item is unfinished business. Fiscal year 2021 third quarter financial status report. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Yu and members of the council. Your Administrative Services Director and your City Treasurer, Ms. Pagadas, will provide the details of the report today. Good news overall, but good news for a couple fronts and a couple reasons why. One, as you remember last year in fiscal year 1920, we were able to balance the budget operationally and the general fund through the CARES Act funding that we received. We received it in two buckets, one in fiscal year 1920, and then we received funding this year in 2021. Without the CARES Act funding, we would have had an operational deficit both last year and projected going into this year. New federal funds are coming as well. We are hearing that the first half of the $6.4 million that is allocated to the city of Temple City, that first half will come sometime in this fiscal year, possibly by the end of May. So that is not going to be included in any budget projections for next year, fiscal year 21-22. But again, without the CARES Act in the last 2 years, with the downturn we saw in economic activity, we would have had to be going into fund balance, or making some additional adjustments going forward. So we had a little bit of a more gloomy look in the mid-year back in January. Our mid-year report was a little earlier last year, but we have a little bit better news, which Susan is about to present to you now. So with that, I'll turn it over to her.
Good evening, Director Paragus.
Hi, Susan.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Hi, good evening. So tonight is our quarterly report that we've been doing the past 3 months. So with this, is the screen not moving? Sorry.
It's moving now.
There we go. So the recommended action for tonight is for council to receive and file their reports, and also authorize staff to revise the revenue and expenditure budgets for this fiscal year 2020-2021. So the overview of the presentation, I guess there's a lag in the. Sorry, I'm going to turn off my webcam as it's telling me that it's my network connection. Okay. All right, so the overview will be a brief analysis of the budgets, and then I'll go into more of the revenues and expenditures, and then as well as the estimated fund balance for the general fund. Then a brief, again, conclusion and outlook for the city. So the analysis, in analyzing for the third quarter data, both the general fund revenues and expenditures are under budget, which means that the collection or the actual costs are below what we've budgeted for the year. Hence, the proposed budget amendments that I'll discuss in another slide. However, for the non-general fund overviews, most funds are on track, as we've already made the adjustments during the adopted budget, so they're looking good. And for any other amendments after tonight, that will be also reported to you at the fourth quarter budget or financial review. And as you know, a lot of these revenues and expenditures for the general fund were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. So for the budget amendments, the general fund revenues, there's a total reduction proposed of $300,235. But on the other side, expenditures, these proposed amendments, we are estimating a net operating surplus of a little over $507,000 for the year. And then when we apply the one-time expenditures, the net operating or the net surplus is reduced to $429,000. With the $429,000, our estimated year-end fund balance is almost $20.53 million. So that's a really good reserve balance. And as Brian Cook, the city manager, mentioned, a major factor of our surplus is because of that one-time CARES Act fund that we recorded for $446,349. Without this allocation, the general fund would have a deficit of almost $17,000. Now, we've done a great deficit of $17,000. Staff has really done a great job in keeping the costs down. $500,000 in salary and benefit savings for this year. So we've really also tried our best to keep the costs down. And again, without this CARES Act, with a deficit of possibly $17,000, we still, I believe, are still looking good. So these are the major revenue amendments for budget amendments for the general fund. As you can see, a lot of the ones that are being reduced are affected by the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. You can see court fines, parking enforcement has been on hold. Our recreation fees, we are not offering any classes or programming, and so their revenues are being zeroed out, as well as the temporary parking permit fees that we will start in October of this year for the next fiscal year. However, there are some good signs with the recent agreement with Athens. We're looking at the we have to apply the $150,000 in lieu payment, and then our other flip side is the in lieu vehicle license fees, where property taxes are used to pay cities those funds. We received our first payment, first half, and it's usually the same amount in the second payment of the second half of the year. So in doubling that payment, we are looking at an increase of over $178,000 for the in lieu vehicle license fees. So that's a good sign. And then we also had a one development plan that's moving forward, thus increasing our plan check fees and we're requesting over $94,000 in budget amendment. Any questions at this point? Okay.
Is it just me,
the
or
graph that I usually present to you.
Excuse me 1 second. Is it just me, or I can't hear half of what she is saying?
I'm losing it too.
I think I have the same issue here.
I don't know. I think it's on her. I think it's on Susan's end, but it's quite choppy.
I apologize for that.
No apology necessary. I'm just saying we just need to figure out how to get a better connection.
Okay, let me see if I can close some of my. I don't know if that'll make it better. But if you have any questions, please, interrupt me and let me know.
If you have a cell phone or something nearby, you can, turn it off, because something else may be drawing the signal away, your bandwidth, or you have other apps running in the background that uses the internet. Maybe you can turn those off as well.
Yes, I've turned off my emails. Everything's off on my background. So is it a little bit better now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. So here's the graphs that I usually present to you on a quarterly basis, just to show where our revenues are moving. Still choppy?
Still choppy, yes.
Yeah, it's coming in and out.
Yeah.
Let me
Susan,
try calling.
Yeah, why don't you try calling in? I can fill in for just a quick moment, if that's okay, Mary, while Susan calls in.
Yeah, please. So, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, so across the board, we've done relatively well. Again, our vehicle license fees have been stable. They are tied to property tax. And our property tax has stayed very strong. Home sales are strong. We don't have the same amount of home sales that we've had in the past, but we do have a strong amount. Does that color one, is that Susan?
Yes, that is me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So hopefully it's a little bit clearer.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. For the types of revenues for the general fund, as you can see, the largest decrease is for charges for services and is mainly for the recreation fees. Currently, our general fund revenue is a little over $14.3 million, and with the proposed amendments, it's reduced to $14,069,000. Sorry, I'm waiting for this. Okay, there we go. The next one up is the major expenditure budget amendments we're requesting for the general fund. Again, as you can see, there's a lot of reductions that are, you can see in the red. A lot of it is related to recreation, law enforcement services. You'll see we're reducing because of the events that we canceled and didn't use the sheriff's services. Then one thing we're requesting to increase is the department supplies for emergency services. And this is because that is where the mitigation charges for COVID-19 or supplies and equipment are being charged. So I'm requesting a $75,000 increase as it's already over budget at this third quarter. The other thing we're requesting to fund is the purchase of radios. The sheriff's department will be changing their communication systems to a different technology. And so once they make that switch, the radios our parking control officers use will no longer be compatible. So we are requesting to purchase that this year and asking for funding for $27,100. Then everything else are a reduction. The capital improvement plans totaling $420,000. We're moving that over to next year's budget. Recreation specialists we're zeroing out. The part-time salaries for recreation is being reduced by $150,000, and then the supplies for special events are also being reduced by $80,000. And again, a brief graph of the government functions. For general government functions, we have no change there. The public safety has a net effective reduction of $25,000. Community development, this is being rolled over to next year. And you can see Parks and Recreation's over $381,000 reduction, again, related to the COVID-19 restrictions. And then the Public Works reduction is due to the maintenance of effort budget that we're not funding. So currently our general fund budget expenditures are $14,619,000, and with the proposed amendments, it'll be reduced to $13,645,000. So with the fund balance, at the mid-year, I presented you with an operating surplus of $156,000. With a third quarter revision, our operating surplus for the general fund is a little over $500,000 at $507,420. And then when we apply the one-time expenditure capital improvement, our surplus is reduced to $429,420. And our audited fund balance reserve for general fund is $19.8 million. With all the revisions and budget amendments, we are estimating a fund balance of $20.5 million. So in conclusion, for the 9 months of this fiscal year, we're requesting budget reductions in revenues and expenditures. And as you know, it's primarily because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's affected services of city operations, less construction, less development activities, also the cancellation of parks and recreation events and programming. So this has impacted our budget. However, as I discussed earlier, we are estimating a surplus in the general fund, mainly to the CARES Act allocation. Staff will continue to monitor and analyze anything that affects our finances, and we'll continue to move forward cautiously when we expend the funds. And the outlook, as Mr. Cook mentioned, 3 months ago, my outlook was very pessimistic, I guess, because of the surge, hospitalization, and the deaths that were happening because of COVID-19. Well, 3 months later, it's a little bit better because, as you know, Los Angeles County is in the yellow tier now. So, and things are starting to open up. We have the third stimulus already out there to the community members. We'll be getting an allocation of this over $6 million from that American Rescue Plan. So, the outlook right now for the city is looking a lot better than 3 months ago. And not only because the pandemic is being controlled, the real property values in the city is increasing. I believe the single family average pricing of the single family homes sales price is over $1 million. I think $1,017,000 compared to last year of $910,000. So what that means is as property values in the city go up, the property tax revenues that we collect will also increase. And with that, any questions?
Okay, I would open up for council questions. We'll start with Council Member Chavez.
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Min.
Just one quick question. If say we didn't have the CARES Act, how much would we be in the?
We would be in a deficit of almost $17,000. So as I mentioned, staff still did a great job in keeping the cost down, and still not filling those vacancies really helped keep our expenses down.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Vizcarra, any questions?
No questions. One observation now. I can't afford to live in this town.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, none of us can. Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Yeah, I only have a simple question. The CARES Act funding, do we already have we received that already?
Yes, we have. And we've already sent
Okay.
the report to reflect what expenses we have to charge against it.
Yeah. And then another quick question. I noticed the $210,000 in capital improvements that on the expenditure side, street maintenance, $210,000. And we're going to carry over to next year. That means that the work has not been done this year. Am I correct?
We ended up using Prop C money for the pavement management plan on Las Tunas. I believe originally we were going to use additional pavement management monies, including the SB1 money, but we will be moving that to next year's projects.
Okay. All right. Okay, at this time, I would open up for public comments. Madam Clerk, are there any emails, public comments?
There are no email requests or no email public comments.
Okay, and I don't see any called in numbers at this point. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay, so at this time, we will close public comments. Any final council questions or comments? Councilmember Chavez.
I just want to thank Susan and her staff for the report. It was very clear and a lot of good work. And thank you for for the good fiscal news. Could use it.
Councilmember Min.
Oh, yes, thank you. I want to echo Member Chop's comments. Yeah, thank you for the very clear and concise report of our third quarter. Just another observation from my end. I think it's interesting to see the contrast with last year's third quarter compared to now. I mean, who would have thought in previous budget years that we'd see these dramatic decreases in revenue across, parks and recs, and decreases in spending in other categories because of the pandemic. So it's just, I know we've been in it for over a year, but every time I see the numbers, it always is kind of shocking to see how big of a change that it has had. But yeah, thank you for. It seems like a lot of the ways that we've been handling our programs and expenditures seems directly aligned with all of the council values that we have discussed in the past about preparing for situations like these. There's a level of, I guess, financial responsibility that I think we as a council pride ourselves in having. So it's good to see that reflected whenever we discuss the financial reports. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councilmember Vizcarra, you have any final questions or comments?
No, not really. I appreciate the way you handle these reports, and Susan, thank you very much for the work you've done. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist.
Just a thought, I was thinking how nice it is to have our property values continue to rise, but along with that, it brings so many more challenges about affordable housing and how we would ever achieve that in our city. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, it's great for the property tax increase, but it makes the challenges of home ownership in our city so much more challenging for, young people. And even as Fernando said, that it's difficult for us to be able to buy our own homes. Just that thought, that's all.
Yeah, I also agree with everything that's been said. In particular, really happy to actually see our third quarter financial report. But I think in spite of the fact that we're actually having a surplus, but there are signs that we need to continue to be cautious. So wanted to thank Mr. City Manager and Director Paragas and everybody else keeping it together. And in spite of the sound quality, it's a very great, very nice, clear, concise report. Thank you for that. I am ready for a council motion.
Mayor, I would make a motion that we receive and file the third quarter fiscal year 2020-2021 financial status report and related reports, and that we approve and authorize staff to revise the revenue and expenditure budget estimates as proposed.
Okay.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Councilmember Vizcarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist?
Yes.
Mayor Yu?
Yes. All right, moving on to the next item. Update from Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Thank you, Mayor Yu and members of the council. I'll be brief, and I'm actually going to turn part of my city manager's report over to the Director of Government Relations for Athens Services, Ed Chen, who will give you an update on the transition that is happening with moving to our cart system. We've been working, and we just had a meeting last week as well. Ed will go over that in just a moment. But as mentioned earlier, we did move to the yellow tier today, and that is good news. And as we continue down the recovery journey, is borrowing a phrase from Dr. Ferrer, We continue to work with our businesses and our business community. Kudos again to our staff for really continuing to provide a level of service throughout this event that has been extremely seamless. It's been unbelievable. So thank you to all of them and all of their hard work as we hopefully get through this last part of the pandemic. It has been their dedication, their hard work, every day being innovative, trying to find ways. If you asked me 2 years ago, can we do plan check, get an engineer's report in, and all those things all online, I would have said, boy, that's going to be a tough thing to pull off. And we've done it. And many of those things will continue going forward, from electronic plan check to appointments to everything else that we've been doing. We'll continue. We think it provides a level of customer service. And in fact, we saw it this week with appointments not being at the same level they were 4 months ago. And I think it's because people see the convenience of the types of services that we're providing, and they are not missing a beat on the quality of service as well. So kudos to all the staff who are dealing with the public virtually and everything else for the last 6 months. It's been amazing, and thank you to all of them. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Chen for a few minutes. We've been working together along with staff, Ashley Avery and I, and Richard Tagore-Irwin, who does occasionally help us out every once in a while with the compliance issues as well. Mr. Chen, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mr. Chen.
Thank you, City Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I was wondering if City Clerk can put up the brief presentation I put together. Today is, as part of the City Council's approval of the contract amendment, there was a timeline that was set that for key dates, 90 days out from the date of transition, 60 days out, and 30 days out. Today will mark the 60-day out timeline for our Temple City transition, and we just prepared a very brief update for the council on some high-level impactful events that we have done for our transition. So wait for that to load. Just in summary, we've done quite a bit of community outreach, starting with compost giveaway events. We also hosted a community information booth for the Temple City sports, tennis, and baseball on a Saturday prior to our compost giveaway event. Mayor Yu also helped us out with the media availability that really reach out to a lot of the Chinese language media in front of City Hall, where we have a permanent display of containers to the east side of City Hall on Park side. We also have done numerous forms of outreach across various medium, including email, billing inserts that everybody got with their bi-monthly bills. And we also done a Zoom presentation with the Chamber of Commerce with date scheduled with the Kiwanis as well as the Women's Club. So if we have a couple great pictures that Jerry Jambazian had with his aerial camera shot with our compost giveaway event. It was just a really great success with a lot of participation. We think those were marking the beginning days of the coming out of this pandemic. Just a very, very great turnout, and we thank the citizens of Temple City for putting that together. Yeah. Oh, I see it. You can go to slide 3. I think that's where we're at right now. So those are some of the pictures from the media availability as well as our compost giveaway event. Slide 2 is just a listing of all the things that I just mentioned. We could go to the next slide, please. We've also created the new collection schedule, made it available. We've put it across various mediums so that people would know exactly what their trash day will be come July 5th. If you go to the next slide, please. The outreach flyer, as well as the electronic form of that. We've experienced actually a lot more interaction with Temple City residents over our electronic and email platform. We have data that we're sharing with the city when it comes to the engagement that we're receiving from the residents. And the traditional mailing is still obviously important, but we're definitely getting a lot more feedback from the container order form that we are putting out there. If we go to the next slide, please. And as promised with our commercial customers, we began the mandatory commercial organics recycling program, starting with the visits by recycling coordinators. These outreach and education has already deployed hundreds of containers out to the business community, and we already started organics collection in the business community. If we go to the final and last slide, our little reminder for residents that are watching this council meeting: the card delivery will begin in June. Our residents may schedule collection of their old containers. They no longer want them. Obviously, they're their own to keep if they wish to retain those containers. And the new collection service with the automated collection trucks will begin on Monday, July 5th. We've also dedicated a special toll-free number for Temple City as part of this transition. Will be staffed by knowledgeable customer service representative, and that 866 number is also on the screen as well. So at this time, that's my very brief, high-level update to the council. I'm happy to take any questions or directions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Chen?
Yeah, Vince, I have a question. Ed, thanks for that update. And thank you for being out there on the compost giveaway. I know a lot of people had questions, and you had full staff out there answering the questions. And from what I observed, most people were in favor of the changes. So thank you for doing that. And I'm very impressed with your title, Director of Government Relations. That's I used to know you when you weren't director of. That's pretty impressive. So couldn't happen to a better man. Anyway, so what time are the trucks going to be?
Well, thank you, Councilmember Chavez.
You're welcome. What time are the trucks going to be on the road with this new delivery or new pickup service?
The same.
You're cut off.
I think, Mr. Chen, you're frozen. We can't hear your response.
After July 5th is when we will begin with the.
Right, and when will the trucks be
Yes, sir,
actually
our
on?
new. Okay, let me repeat. The new collection trucks, the automated collection will begin July 5th. The trucks are going to be the brand new. It will be July 5th with the automated collection service.
And what time will they actually be on the
July
road?
5th.
No, on the time of day.
Time of day, so that'll be 6 o'clock in the morning, as it is currently with our collection schedule.
Is that what it is currently? I always thought it was 7 o'clock, but it is 6 o'clock.
I think Mr. Chen.
Sure. Start.
Mr. Chen, you may want to call in, Mr. Chen.
That's okay. That's fine. I can always get the answer later. No worries.
Any other questions?
If I'm not frozen anymore, it's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock is the.
If not, then I do have. Yeah. I do have a clarification question. I asked you that before, but I think it's good to ask again for the public. So, Mr. Chen, so if people don't call in and ask for a certain size, they'll be automatically getting the 64-gallon carts, right?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. 64 is the standard service size, and that's going to be the default.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mayor, can I also ask Mr. Chen a question?
Yeah, please.
Anyway, thank you, Ed, for going over that presentation. Approximately when would residents start receiving the new carts? Is it right before July 5th, or is it going to be distributed earlier than that?
I think Mr.
2 weeks in June.
I heard 2 weeks in June.
I guess it's been the last 2 weeks in June.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any other question for Mr. Chen or Mr. Cook at this point? If not, then thank you so much, Mr. Chen, for that brief report. Mr. Cook, do you have any follow-up on your report? Okay. If not, then we'll move on to the next item, update from Mr. City Attorney. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly, last meeting, I kind of warned you all about Assembly Bill 339, which was due to make this kind of remote public participation in meetings permanent. The bill did come out of committee last week and is going back to the full assembly. But in coming out of committee, a change was made that it would only apply to cities and counties of over 250,000 people. So the jurisdiction itself has to have 250,000. In light of that, unless that change is erased at some other point down the line, it will not apply to Temple City. And when we go back to our meetings, we'll be back to meeting as usual without having to have the additional expense for mandatory translation and for permanent online public participation. The bill is due to expire at the end of 2023, which has some commentators saying that that's just sort of a test run, and that if the legislature does decide to extend it, they would extend it and maybe drop that number down to 100,000 or to 50,000. So we'll keep an eye on it, but for now, it does look like we dodged one. So that's my report for tonight. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Moving on to the next item, agenda item is council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Before we go there, I think we need to disband the city commissioner recruitment ad hoc committee, as that item has already been taken care of. Do we have any reports from council?
William, did you want to report out on the school district meeting, or do you want me to?
You go ahead. Maybe I'll just add some.
Well, Councilmember Mann and I met with the school district standing committee last week, last Thursday, in fact. Good meeting. Different items on the agenda. One of the items discussed was a future item, actually, public safety issue that may be arising, but probably not until 2022, regarding the traffic at Oak Avenue and Temple City High School. As some of you may be aware, it was a Senate bill that got passed by Mr. The bill's author was Mr. Portantino, who decided that students were going to school too early and pushed back the time for which they will be starting school. And so that apparently is going to have an effect on the traffic at Oak Avenue and the high school. And so that's something that, of course, the school district and the city will be working with in the future. We talked about sharing information. I don't know if, I know I get it. I don't know if the rest of you get it. Superintendent puts out a newsletter every couple of weeks and with information regarding updates regarding the school, and asked if we could continue sharing information. I know that Brian talks quite frequently with the superintendent, and there is a back and forth regarding any kind of updates outside of the committee's work. There was a thank you by the school district for the Herald Christian vaccination event that we had. Quite a bit of their staff and teachers received their vaccination. Big thank you to Councilmember Sternquist also for arranging the PPE supplies that they're now using at the school. So they were very appreciative of that. Most students have returned in the afternoon. They're having kind of a hybrid Zoom with classes in the morning and afternoon attendance. The approximately 5,400 students now in the district and so they have quite a bit of kids to take care of. They are planning on in-person graduations this year, at least for the junior high and the high school. They're now looking for, and I wasn't really quite sure what she meant by this, but I think I know. They're looking for an external site for the high school graduation rather than a traditionally on campus. They're looking for, I guess, a larger facility to hold their high school graduation to meet the social distancing rules, I'm assuming, and to get more people there. So can't think of a place in the city bigger than the high school, but the only thing that comes to my mind is maybe Live Oak Park, which at this point no one's offered. So we'll see how that plays out. And no one's asked either, so we'll see how that goes. And they're in the process of going through their master facility updates, and so they will be providing more information on that as well. And that concludes my portion of the estate of the report. William, do you have anything that you want to add?
Hey, you pretty much covered basically everything. But I'll just add that it's one of the things I've noticed with our ongoing standing committee meetings, which is a very positive thing, is there's a certain rhythm to it now, where there's an expectation that these meetings will occur on a regular basis, where we actually, at the end of our meeting, we agree at least tentatively upon the date of the next meeting, which, you know, as any of us who have observed in the past, it wasn't always that case. So to have that constant communication with the school district and have our elected counterparts on the school board wanting to meet with us and work with us and share information, I think it's to the benefit of us all. So I really appreciate that, and of course, shout out to the school board for being so collaborative in that sense. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those reports. Any other reports from council members? All right, we'll move on to the next item. Council items separate from the city manager's regular agenda. Councilmember Chavez.
Not really anything. I do want to comment. It seems like it's a feast or famine for Scott. I recall last meeting, he basically was the meeting. And tonight, I just see his name. So we give you the night off, Scott. So there you go. You deserve it. I know that you've been really busy trying to get everybody back to City Hall and coordinating all of that. But other than that, no, I want to thank Ed again for coming on. And looks like Athens is moving forward, and it's good to see that the information is getting out. And look forward to getting back into City Hall sooner than later, maybe. Hopefully things keep moving the way they are. I know that Brian and staff are working on some design features for our council chambers, and hopefully that will happen sooner than later. But at the same time, I just, again, I don't want to seem overly cautious, but you know, if for some reason, and I think there are some valid reasons that California is doing so well versus our other West Coast counterparts like Oregon and Washington, who are not doing so well. There are reasons for that, and I just hope that those reasons continue, and we don't see all of a sudden people getting very complacent, because we know that sometimes that complacency can pose additional problems. So keep a good thought and our fingers crossed. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Mitt.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Yu. Not too much, but I do want to maybe build on what Councilmember Chavez was talking about in regards to the pandemic. I know in conversations with City Manager Cook, we've had the Harold Christian Center vaccine clinic. We've had the Sheriff's Department holds the vaccine clinic at Live Oak Park, and it seems like, compared to the initial months of the vaccine rollout, it's not as busy or crowded, or people aren't as there's not this huge long line of people going to get the vaccine. So perhaps one way of interpreting that is our community collectively is approaching a point where hopefully most people have elected to get the vaccine. And listening to the news, radio, and articles, this elusive concept of herd immunity is we're not really sure if that's truly achievable, especially with all these variants that are being reported and how that's impacted. It's impacting the younger age group now. Proportionally, the youth now make up a larger portion of COVID cases now. But part of that could just be mathematically, if one portion of your population gets vaccinated, then the segment of the population that's not eligible for the vaccine is now going to make up a larger portion of the reported cases. So hopefully as we move hopefully towards the end of the pandemic, we don't see something else blindside us out of nowhere. I guess I'm especially kind of cautious about it just because with young kids, the science is still out there as to what are potential long-term effects for young children. And we with schools kind of getting back, with more in-person studies, with more outdoor sports activities starting to get back in, I would encourage our community to just be vigilant, because these things really, if we start letting our guard down, we don't know where we might end up. But in general, I'm pretty proud of our community in going to our parks. I've yet to see someone not wear a mask, actually, which is great. People are very respectful of spaces, and although the kids areas, kids are going to be kids. But unfortunately, Live Oak Park, like I was just there over the weekend, and a lot of people want to be out, but people aren't huddling together in massive groups or whatnot. So keep it up, Temple City, and light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. And also a early Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. It's just right around the corner. Thank you, Mary.
Right, thank you, Councilmember Min. Councilmember Viscar, you have any things to share? You're on mute, Councilmember Viscar.
Just a quick COVID anecdote. Everything that Tom and William said, I echo. Although Brian and I were talking about the stats, and they're confusing because we really don't know how many people have gotten their shots and how many haven't. A lot of people go someplace else, and so we don't pick them up here, but they have had their shots and vice versa. No, but my anecdote is, yesterday I went to Costco, and I went, showed my little ID and went into the store, and something didn't feel quite right. I got all the way to the meat counter and realized I was the only person in the store without a mask on. So I had to do a big turnaround and run out to my car to get my mask and come back in. Anyway, but it's amazing. Everybody in that store had a mask with me. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist, any remarks?
Thank you, Ed. Nice to see you. Thank you for the information. Looking forward to that July date when we transition formally. A couple of things. recently, do we have one of our sheriffs on with us by any chance?
Captain Reyes couldn't join us this evening, but Mr. Arizumi and I are here. So if
Okay.
there's something we
Well, I wanted to share with council, and maybe some of you already know this, but it seemed just appropriate to mention it tonight, especially in light of the Youth Commission's meeting that they had and workshop with Senator Rubio on mental health, and it being Mental Health Month. The City of Industry recently approved plans to build a sheriff training facility that deals with the training of deputies on how to deal with situations, not just with autism, but autism is a big focus of what the training is. And it's an opportunity for deputies to go and get firsthand knowledge of how to deal with someone who might be autistic that they come across, and having a better understanding that they might not be belligerent, or they might not be in or disrespecting what a sheriff is asking them to do. And it seems like it's just a wonderful partnership with that sheriff department. And I think it really helps to broaden the sheriff's awareness when they come into difficult situations, especially someone who possibly would be having a mental health issue, on how to deal with it and how to actually prevent the interaction from escalating to a point where someone could be injured or even killed. So I just wanted to see from our own deputies if they would be partaking in this training. And oh well, Ed, you might know because I'm looking right at you. Right, but
I actually took the 40-hour training, Councilman Spencer, and thank you for mentioning that. That was a lot of great information, just like you said, and for the professionals that have such training and knowledge. 40 hours skims the surface, but I feel a lot more prepared when dealing with situations.
Now, are they being housed in a city? Is that where the program is housed, or are they building a facility? Or
yes, they're building the facility across the street from Industry Sheriff Station, and I believe the City of Industry is providing that space or the construction, or and it's across the street from the Industry Station, but it's going to be the headquarters for the mental evaluation team, which will respond countywide. So being that it's still very close to Temple Station in our areas, I think that's a great location and great service to all of us.
I was hoping that once, I mean, there's a lot of deputies in a lot of different cities, but that they go through the cycle, that maybe even some of our code enforcement officers could attend, because I think that broadens their scope of, potentially dealing with someone who might be autistic or having a mental health issue that can really de-escalate something from getting to a critical point. I'm sorry. I thought I heard someone, but thank you for sharing that, Ed. I just think it's a great program. And Corey Moss, who is the mayor of the City of Industry, was a big motivator behind this. And one of those reasons is that she has an 11 or 12-year-old son who is autistic. And I just think it brings a lot of awareness to the department, and maybe something that, I would love to be able to learn more about that. But thank you for that. Let's see. I wanted to invite all of you out this Saturday if you're free. There's 3 time periods. One's at 10 o'clock, I believe. One's at 1 o'clock, and then another trip at 2:30 to be one of the first people to ride on Foothill Transit's electric double-decker bus. So it's one of the first in North America, and they'll provide lunch for you if you go to the early one. But they'll take you out to see where the charging station is, and you can bring your kids if you have them and you want them to ride on the double-decker bus. I will definitely have Brian send that information out to you. And if you can't come out this weekend, there will be another opportunity next Saturday also. The following
Mayor
Saturday.
Pro Tem, would the double-decker bus be a regular or a bus being used, or just for this show only?
No, it's actually will go into service in about 3 weeks to a month. So it'll be in service. There's 2 of them actually, and yeah, it's very exciting. And there's a nice little video that I'll try and get sent to you also. But we're very excited on Foothill Transit to be able to have a double decker. It's beautiful actually also, so it's pretty fun. I will say though, it's a little cramped for taller people going up the stairs. So maybe the taller people need to stay below, but it is fun to see. And let's see, was there one other thing? Oh, yes. I wanted to ask if at all possible, if maybe we can put up a sign, maybe I'm losing my thought here. My dog's licking my foot, sorry. But in our alleyways, I walk a lot and I take my dog, and right off of even Garibaldi near me, we have 3 or 4 alleyways behind City Hall. And there is so much trash that's being dumped, including furniture. And as soon as I see it, I will call Brian and let him know. But it seems that the alleyways that are going north and south from Kaufman to probably Oak Avenue. I don't know if there's one closer to Oak, but before it, there's a lot of furniture that's being dumped, just trash. So I don't know if we can put up some signs that say no dumping allowed, just to remind people, Brian, that they shouldn't be doing that. And also there's a trash bin at Camellia. What is it, the area called there? We're on Temple City Boulevard, where the square is. I forget what the name of it is there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about.
Right. Well, the old Alpha Beta property and the little square just north of it. Mm-hmm. Right along that dumpster, people are dumping trash over the fence onto the Alpha Beta side, including furniture, shoes, clothing. So if we could just reinforce that there's no dumping, and people are just dumping their trash over. I don't know if they're even bringing it from other cities, but they're leaving it in that front of that trash bin there.
Do we have access to that lawn?
No, we'd have to get some permission, but if it becomes a nuisance, we can, and it becomes a trash nuisance and a health nuisance, we can go onto the property to address those issues, which we will. And the signage, Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist, no problem. We'll go. When I'm driving out later this week, we'll identify some sites with staff.
Thank you. And then a quick question for Greg. Greg, I know some time back, Susan Rubio was thinking about a bill that would prevent owners such as the Alpha Beta site from continuing to not develop their property and just have it sit there and not do anything for the community. I don't know if you've heard anything that's coming down the pipeline, but if the council would wish, I mean, just because I know she had some interest, if maybe Brian or Scott could reach out and see if there's anything that can be done to help us. I know the only thing you can do is is eminent domain for transportation, I believe, projects, but it's just so frustrating to see that property sit there. And I don't know what can be done, Greg, but if maybe you could look into that also and see what's available for us.
Certainly, we can look into that.
Okay. And that's it. And happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Happy
Well, thank
Mother's Day,
you.
Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Greg. Hey, Greg, let me know how that constitutional argument comes out on those property rights.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One other quick thing.
Yeah.
I was at a convention, and I'm not going to share which one, but for the past 3 days virtually, and one of the topics or resolutions to move forward with that got so much positive movement was to allow ADUs to be sold so that it would increase home ownership in low income cities. Can you imagine what that would do if we could all just build ADUs and then sell them, and then you just increase density and have people purchasing the ADUs behind you and they own the structure and the plot of land that that's on? I just find that incredibly interesting and disturbing for R1 residential areas. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I only have one item. Just want to again talk about the vaccine clinic. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the Sheriff Department, thank our city staff for hosting again the Pfizer vaccine clinic. So it is well attended, and but do we know, Mr. Cook, if the Sheriff Department is going to come back in 2 weeks, I guess, for another clinic?
Mr. Arzumi.
Mr. Arzumi is with us. We cannot hear you, though, Mr. Arzumi.
How about now?
Yes.
You're good.
Okay.
The Sheriff's Department will be coming back on May 17th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Same hours of operation in the same location for the second dose. Once we receive the link from the health center, we will promote the clinic on our social media. And just like last time, it's by appointment. However, walk-ups are welcome.
Mr. Arzumi, is that only second dose? I thought I heard they said they would take first.
Yeah,
first
they'll
dose.
take first dose. It's if someone's coming in to receive the first dose, to administer the first dose, they would just have to on their own find a location to receive their second dose. The clinic, the way it was planned, was those that received the first dose on April 26th would come back to the same location on May 17th to receive the second dose. But anybody that is willing to receive first or second dose is welcome to attend.
And
All right.
Mayor, yes. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Mayor, are we at 57% of vaccinations in Temple City with residents? And does that number include people? Is that a county number? So wherever somebody gets a vaccination, it goes into that database, and that 57% is where we're at as a city?
Correct.
I'm not as sure, but Mr. Arzumi may know better than I.
Yeah, so that is what is reported by Alley County Public Health, the 57% or a little over 17,000 residents. When someone registers to receive the vaccine, they have to list their residential address or their home address. And so based on that system, Public Health is pulling that information and listing communities on percentage of communities that have received the vaccine.
So Brian, could we possibly continue to work on that campaign of getting vaccinated? I know we have those signs, but whatever we can do on our social media. I mean, 57% is not bad, but it's not great either.
Will do.
Yeah. So thank you for that information. Again, I just want to thank our city staff, because I was there. And then I took the time. Actually, I had to sit down for a little bit because my legs were killing me. But I mean, to see our staff standing there tirelessly all morning. I mean, not just one or two people, our staff. And Mr. Cook was there, and of course, Mr. Arzumi and everybody else was there working so hard. It's just great to see. And again, thank you for the good work.
I would add, Vince, that the line moved quickly too. I thought that was good.
Yes, yeah. Even though we thought that we heard that there are fewer people getting vaccination, we actually had no gaps. The line people kept coming and keep getting injections. I don't know if Mr. Arizumi, you actually had a count of how many injections vaccines were administered that morning.
On that day, they administered 275 vaccines.
Oh, that was great. So, all right. Thank you again. That's my comment. And with that, I will move to additional public comments. I don't see any callers. Madam Clerk, do we have any emails for public comments?
No, Mayor, there are no emails for public comment.
So I will close public comment. With that, we are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone. And happy.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.